What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So I apologize for the odd surroundings and odd furniture and stuff. I'm on the road again traveling, but I know how much you guys love these videos. So even whenever it's not super easy for me to do them, I still want to do them. That way you guys get your download of weekly car news here. So lots of exciting stuff to go over this week. The first big news is Buick announced they're killing off this sedan. The Regal is the last one they had here, but killing it off completely, and so now Buick doesn't have a sedan. They're only an SUV lineup here, which is just crazy. That's the first time, obviously, in their history they've ever not had a car to sell. And so the details here are that they're going away after the 2020 model year, so that includes the Touareg wagon and the awesome Regal GS, which I reviewed at the beginning of 2019 here and absolutely loved. It is such a good vehicle and just so underrated. It's really a bummer they're all going away. My father-in-law actually bought a Touareg here this past year. He loves it. They're fantastic cars. It's kind of a shame that they're going away. But if you are bummed out about that, you know, Buick, just their justification is 90% of their sales come from SUVs here this year. So, you know, they just don't see any kind of market. And even people who want something fuel efficient, they can always just go and get an Encore or something small like that. So not much, you know, nowhere else for them to go, I guess. So, you know, as far as, if you remember, the Regal is basically an Opel, and so Opel got sold off to Peugeot, so they're, you know, they're all split off, and so it's probably a struggle from a logistics standpoint as well. So that's another reason why, you know, they aren't continuing on with the Regal here, but they are going to be continuing it on in China, where the Regal still sells and people still buy Buick sedans. Crazy world we live in, where China likes Buick sedans more than Americans do, but I'm not going to go down that rant. But anyway, you know, so the Opel and Vauxhall, they are going to be getting a new version of the Insignia, which is what the Regal was. And so for those who, you know, are in Europe, you're going to still be able to get that with a new gen version, but it'll probably be much different than the Regal is currently. But for some good news here this week, there's all kinds of really exciting good stuff here. First is Jaguar has revealed the gorgeous 2021 F-Type, and so it's obviously not all new, but does get some significant changes here. So the biggest is this new front end with these vertical headlights being replaced with these new horizontal lights that you can see now and look fantastic. I love the way the F-Type looked already, and I think this new look just looks even better, and I didn't think that was possible, but they pulled it off. So very, very impressive look. It also gets a bigger grille, a new vented hood that looks more aggressive, and slightly tweaked side vents as well. Taillights in the back are also different, so that rounded part they used to have in the middle is now more angular there, but still just an evolutionary change. Still looks pretty similar to the old ones. Inside, the only change is the new digital gauges, basically. There's also that wider touchscreen display that I believe they had actually got last year, but that now has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, which is a great improvement. And so, mechanically speaking, the engines are the same, but they did change the lineup a little bit. So you can still get the four-cylinder turbo with 296 horsepower. You can still get the 380 horsepower supercharged V6 and the 575 horsepower supercharged V8. They got rid of the 340 horsepower supercharged V6, so you only have one V6 now, but that's okay. I'm still just glad they have one. And they also got rid of the SVR model, so now the R model makes 575 horsepower, same mechanicals as the SVR, just the R is now getting all that stuff. I'm hoping there's a new SVR to you know, come out and be even more higher performing, but in the meantime, the R is the new top dog, so that's an interesting thing. They also introduced a new quiet start mode. If you don't want a roar to wake up your neighbors early in the morning, you can now have a more considerate startup for your F-Type. They made a bunch of handling changes as well to all F-Types, including new springs and sway bars, retuned dampers, power steering, stability control, torque vectoring. They retuned all that stuff, especially the torque vectoring. They say they retuned for less understeer, which I didn't think the F-Type had any understeer, honestly, in the few times that I've driven them. But yeah, they fixed all that. They also have a few new components in the suspension setup there to improve camber and caster and a bunch of other things. But anyway, yeah, sounds like great improvements. I'm just glad the F-Type is sticking around and that the supercharged engines are sticking around, because there's rumors of them getting BMW V8s and stuff, and that could still happen for a next-gen version, but at least for several more years here, it sounds like the supercharged engines are safe, which is great news in my opinion. And so yeah, we don't have any new pricing or release date for these, but I'm sure it'll be coming sometime next year and should be fairly similar as far as pricing goes as well. But anyway, great to see that. Hyundai also released some official numbers here this week for the Sonata N-Line that's coming next year. And I actually got to drive this prototype N-Line this week. That's actually the event I'm on here, was for the new Sonata, and they allowed us to drive the N-Line. And I will have a quick drive video coming live Monday at 12:01 a.m. Is when that video will be going live, and I'll be able to talk about how the N-Line drove. I can't talk about driving impressions here in this video, but I'll just give you the numbers because that's what they gave us and that's what we're allowed to share currently. But I'm excited for you guys to see the quick drive video. That's all I can say. But anyway, so it's a turbo version of the new 2.5-liter four-cylinder that they're debuting in the standard Sonata, and that's the new base engine in the Sonata. But so this turbo one bumps it up, and goes from its 180 horsepower to now 290 horsepower for this new motor, 310 pound-feet of torque, and that's more torque than anything in the segment aside from the Mazda 6, which matches it at 310, but way more torque than all the other top-performing models. Now it's a little less horsepower than like Camry V6 and stuff, but with that turbo motor, you'll see in the quick drive video. I won't say anything more. But so that's an interesting thing. It's going to be paired up with an 8-speed dual clutch transmission. It's a wet dual clutch transmission setup, so a little bit of a sportier premise than what you have with the standard automatics in the Camry V6, or even the 10-speed auto you see in the Honda Accord in its 2.0T version. This is seeming like they're actually aiming it to be a little more sportier than some of those competition. But anyway, other things here, specs here. It's going to be only front-wheel drive still, but that's a thing for the Sonata. The Sonata is not going to be getting all-wheel drive anytime soon, but it also gets wider 245 wide tires, stiffer springs, shocks, and sway bars, along with a 0.2-inch lower ride height. So very minor, but slightly lower as well. It also gets slightly larger brakes too, but again, no massive changes or anything. This is not a full-blown N, so it's not going to be as extreme as like a Veloster N or something like that. But I think it's a more substantial upgrade than what you got with like the Elantra GT N-Line. You can also have like the multi-mode quad exhaust here. It's going to have also sportier styling, which you can kind of see a little bit of, but they still had the camo wrap on it, so we'll have to wait to see the full styling in the future here. But anyway, so great to hear those numbers though. Very promising. And the fact that they got that 8-speed dual clutch, I'm thinking the Veloster N is going to be getting that transmission possibly next year to go in addition to the manual, hopefully. But we'll have to wait and see. That's just pure guessing on my part. But to go along with this news here, there's a report from Car and Driver talking about the Genesis G70 and how when Car and Driver heard this news of this new 2.5-liter turbo motor from Hyundai, they said, well, Genesis is going to have to get this engine. It makes too much sense. So their report here is claiming that the current 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder Genesis G70, the base model there, that might get swapped for the 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, and even if it does the same horsepower as the Sonata N-Line, it should still be a nice jump up of about 40 horsepower over the current G70 and about 50 pound-feet of torque more than the current G70. That would give it less room between that and the twin-turbo V6, but I think it would be a nice upgrade and could help maybe sell some of those cheaper G70s as well. The only downside potentially is that if the manual transmission that they have in the G70 was only developed for that 4-cylinder, there's a possibility you could lose that manual here. If this new 4-cylinder is only paired up to a dual clutch, that could be the only issue there, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully the manual does stick around. Other Genesis news though, to kind of wrap this all together, there's another little thing here. So the GV80 was leaked this week in several different places. I don't have rights to any of the pictures to show you guys here. I don't want to take them off of other sites. So I will just link in the description. Korean Car Blog has the clearest pictures that I've seen for the new GV80. And basically, if you don't want to click off to another website, I'll just say that if you could imagine the new G90 Genesis front end and back end, basically they copy and pasted that onto an SUV shape. That's what the GV80 looks like. nothing too radical there, but I think it actually is a very good looking design on the G90 and on the GV80 here. So I think that's a nice, direction, I guess, even if it does give it a very familiar look. So that's an interesting thing. Also, the Korean car blog posted just one picture of the new Santa Cruz prototype with heavy camouflage on it. So you can't tell a whole lot, but what I can see from that camoed picture, which again I'll link below, is that it basically looks like a Hyundai Santa Fe with a truck bed on it. And that could end up being what it is, because we've heard it's going to be a unibody pickup truck and kind of compete more closely with like a Ridgeline or something, potentially even come in a little cheaper than a Ridgeline, but something along that line. And so anyway, interesting to see that floating around out there on the internet. For some other reports here this week, Car and Driver has a new report here where they interviewed McLaren's CEO recently, and he told them McLaren is working on an all-wheel drive hybrid model that is going to be their new top supercar, kind of like a P1 successor, and they're aiming to get 2.3 seconds for its 0 to 60 time. So pretty crazy stuff. According to Car and Driver, McLaren's going to be revealing this powertrain next spring. That makes me think Geneva Motor Show, which is always like early March, late February. So that's, I guess where they might show off this new powertrain, but the actual car, according to Car and Driver, they're claiming that the car is going to debut later towards the end of 2020 and be on sale in early 2021 here in the States. So it wouldn't be too far off, which is pretty impressive considering that's sooner than the Tesla Cybertruck and the Mach-E and all that kind of stuff most likely. So pretty impressive if they can work up something that quickly. We'll have to wait and see. But another thing here, so Mercedes has a couple of quick stories this week. First is that while there's been other companies recently like Jag that's been doing the quiet start function, Mercedes is going the other direction, and so they officially debuted this emotion start feature this week. And so Car and Driver broke this news. Apparently this is on all 2020 model AMG products already, so already something that's already out there. And it just basically starts the car with the exhaust valves open and revs the engine a little bit higher whenever you start it up. So yeah, and I'll link their article there if you're interested in checking it out. But basically to turn it on, you just pull a paddle before you hit the engine start button, and that does the loud start. And it's pretty awesome that they're even having that as an option, so that's cool. The other little bit of Mercedes news here is that Daimler's CEO told GT Spirit over in Europe in a recent interview that the next-gen S-Class will be continuing to offer a V12 option, which is kind of a surprise because we saw the S65 final edition, and so it sounded like they were getting rid of the V12, at least for the AMG models, and so they could still be getting rid of them for the AMG models. But at least, it sounds like possibly the Maybach will continue on with the V12, and that's where it would continue. But they just said they're going to continue to offer a V12 in the S-Class in some way. So that's awesome. It does make sense that they would keep a V12 around, though, considering they probably want to have some type of competitor to the Rolls-Royce and BMW and all that. So having Mercedes have a V12 as well just still gives you a little bit of a prestige factor, I guess. So we'll have to see. But supposedly we'll know all the details next year, because that's supposedly when the new S-Class is rumored to be making its debut. So that's interesting to see. BMW has a couple of stories this week here. First is excellent news that they finally saw the light and realized they shouldn't charge people for Apple CarPlay, something that Hyundai makes free in every base model vehicle. So I don't know if you're still gonna have to pay for CarPlay just to get the feature, but BMW's recent thing has been they were trying to charge a subscription fee to have people pay every single year to continue to use CarPlay, which is just insane. And they finally backpedaled and confirmed to Autoblog that they're no longer going to charge an annual fee for CarPlay. And so I don't know how that's going to play out for current subscribers or people who've already paid for CarPlay, but hopefully they'll get some refunds or something. Not sure why BMW thought that was a good idea, but at least they have corrected their mistake, so that's good. BMW also revealed the pricing for the new 2 Series Gran Coupe we just saw about a month or so ago. They're all going to be coming with the xDrive all-wheel drive system, and so the base 228i model starts at $38,495. The faster M235i version starts at $46,495. And so those prices are pretty close to the Mercedes CLA and the Audi A3 prices. But the older Audi S3 does start about $2,500 less than that M235i version. Obviously, again, the Audi is much older tech and stuff, but you know, that's really the only one that kind of undercuts it. And so the CLA is pretty close in price, but honestly, with how everyone's had mixed receptions to the new 2 Series Gran Coupe, I think people will most likely pay the extra few $100s to get a CLA over 2 Series, but we'll have to see. Maybe the numbers will play out differently and people will love it and buy a bunch of these 2 Series. We'll have to wait and see. So anyway, interesting to hear that. For some sad news here this week, it sounds like Fiat might be killing off the 124 Spider here pretty soon. So this is according to several Italian publications that are saying that the 124 already has dropped off the Italian Fiat site. And so that means it's at least not going to be getting a 2020 model in Italy. And a US Fiat spokesperson did confirm to Car and Driver that production is going to continue here for North America, but 2020 could be the last model year. So maybe it's continuing temporarily, but it's just like, you know, continuing on with the existing stock and existing production. I don't know, but it's just another thing that just they didn't sell very many of them. And this seems like Fiat is almost just working on an exit strategy from America. I mean, I get from a sales standpoint, like Mazda sold almost 3 times as many Miatas so far this year than Fiat has sold 124s. So there's that component. But you know, they recently just, you know, got rid of the Fiat 500. And so if they kill off the 124, then all you have left is the 500X and the 500L. And so I'm not sure how this is going to play out for them. It really just seems like Fiat might go away. And my personal hunch is that now that they've merged with Peugeot, that once that merger is finalized, maybe Peugeot will take over those old Fiat dealers and you know, just kind of go from there. I don't know how that would leave Alfa Romeo, because sometimes they share dealers with Fiat, so we'll have to see. But yeah, I just, you know, it's really a shame. And, you know, all the people who say they want a turbo Miata, here you go. It's already on sale. It's available. Go get one while you can. You know, that's about it. Because it's like anything else. If you're not buying a new vehicle, you're not keeping that car alive. You're not sending the message to the manufacturer. Buying used cars doesn't do anyone any favors except yourself. You're saving money. It makes sense. But it just you know, makes it tough for them to justify new stuff like this. So I personally thought the 124 is much better looking than the Miata, and I reviewed the Abarth and the regular version. They're really fun vehicles. I do prefer the Miata engine, so that's my conflict, but I think the styling is just so gorgeous on that 124. And for the last news story this week, also Miata related. So it sounds like Mazda's already talking about a next-gen version of the Miata, so that's good news at least. It sounds like even if they don't have a partnership with Fiat anymore, that at least it sounds like they're continuing to do it on their own, or maybe they're looking for a new partner, I don't know. But basically the new news here is in an interview with Autocar, they revealed that they're trying to currently decide whether they're going to electrify the new Miata. There could be an electric one. You know, they just showed off the MX-30, so they do have some electric stuff, you know, in the works. So, you know, doing that for the Miata might be possible, but of course they want to keep it lightweight. So they're kind of, it sounds like they're still conflicted about what direction they even want to go in. So it sounds like it's going to be a while before we see a new Miata, at least 4 or 5 years if they still haven't even decided on the direction of the powertrain yet. And so Mazda's global design director told Autocar the preferences of people who enjoy driving sports cars might be changing, so we need to think about what direction society is going in. We want to look at the best powertrain to keep the vehicle lightweight, but because of the diversifying requirements and preferences, we need to explore various options. So, you know, whether it might be a hybrid, maybe it's full EV, maybe they're just going to keep it a normal old-fashioned gasoline power thing and that's it. I'm personally hoping for that, I think, but an electric little thing could be cool too. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out, but again, if they want to keep it light, I think keeping a gas engine is probably the way to go. But yeah, so we'll have to see what happens. Clearly, we still have several years before we see anything new. So the current Miata is safe and still a fantastic car as well. So definitely worth checking one of those out if you're on the fence. But anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So let me know your thoughts on all these stories in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.